Jeff, great to have you in the podcast. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me, Jared.
Let's dive right in. So let's first, if you don't mind, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dig into Accelerant and then all things AI.
Sure, fair enough. Jeff Radke. I've been in the insurance and reinsurance industry for all 35-ish years. Live in Puerto Rico now, but before I sort of did the usual insurance Bedouin move, so Bermuda, New York, London, all the usual spots.
And for our audience that maybe some of which are not familiar with Accelerant, what would you tell them about Accelerant?
Sure. I'd say that Accelerant is an insurance infrastructure company, and what we do is we connect independent specialty underwriters with the capital that they need to be able to write those insurance policies. So we run a risk exchange. You can think of us like a marketplace in the way that we connect those folks. Why did we start Accelerant? We started Accelerant because working in the industry for decades and decades, we saw I'll just say how badly it was done, right? How bloated the value chain was, old-fashioned, slow, incredibly expensive. And what we were able to do by starting fresh with a very different philosophy about data and about technology is we were able to squeeze a lot of cost out of the transaction with technology, and then drive much better sort of data-driven insights from the very beginning, which results in a more profitable portfolio for the capital providers.
And let's talk about AI's role in what you do every day, and then I want to go into kind of some different questions around AI, but let's focus on that for now.
Sure. So for us, generative AI is not leading the charge for us today. AI is leading the charge, and as machine learning morphs into AI, that's kind of the path that we're on. And there are three main areas that machine learning and AI are making a difference in our business. The first one is automating what is quite often a real drudgery of paper flow, right? So we're allowing people to get on with higher function work by letting the AI do the lower level sorting, if you will, because that's close enough. The next thing we're doing is we're helping those independent underwriters that we support. We're helping them select the highest value opportunities using AI, so they're devoting their work theoretically to the spots that will have the most value. And then the third area, which is really, frankly, the area that everyone talks about the most, is what we're doing is we're using AI and machine learning, as I said, to do two things: to find out sort of micro portfolios that are going better than expected and micro portfolios that are going worse than expected, and then you can adjust once you know that. And I think in my intro I said that I've been in the industry for 35-ish years. The ability to be able to dig into those micro portfolios, gosh, it's making all the difference, because we never had the data to do it. And if we had the data, we didn't have the tools. And if we had the tools, we didn't have the time. So you need kind of a whole end-to-end solution to solve all three of those problems.
And let's talk about AI applications out there, maybe the best use cases of the technology that are really on your radar that excite you today.
Sure. What excites me is what's making a difference today. So for us, the underlying models, we're going to kind of use and adapt the best that are available. We don't perceive ourselves to be building sort of the baseline models. What we're doing is we're working hard to tune those and train those against what is a pretty unique data set in our world, in the specialty insurance world. Our little corner of the world, 250 billion, but our little corner of the world is typified by really poor data capture and transfer. So as we've been going since 2018 with the modern tech stack focused on this, we've really, really made a ton of progress. And we view it as like this enormous moat to have this proprietary data, 40 million rows, 16,000 unique attributes. We're laying down 1,000,004 rows each quarter. Each month actually is what I should have said. And so what are we doing? What's the most exciting things that we're doing with it is, as I described, those micro portfolios where we're finding out that, pubs in the UK, right? Bars, pubs north of the river are perform much better than pubs south of the river, and it's probably due to which football side is supported north or south of the river and how they behave. Stuff like that you'd never know because you never had the time, data, or the tools.
Now, I would say, even outside of your space, are there any particular use cases that stand out to you that excite you, just in
Yeah,
general?
and probably because I'm a victim or a student of the insurance industry, what I think might make the biggest difference to the most people is removing the drudgery. Everyone focuses on potential job loss. I don't think it's going to play out that way. I think what's going to happen is the 40% of my job, which is kind of not so fun, maybe we can cut that down to 10. And maybe 90% can then be the really exciting, fun, value-added part. And I think that's true certainly in insurance, but I think that's true in other places as well. And maybe because it's not as sexy as unlocking the secrets of the human genome, maybe that's why it doesn't get as much attention. But in terms of day-to-day activity, I think getting rid of the, let's call it administration, is maybe going to be the biggest difference maker, at least what we can see at Accelerant.
Yeah, I think there will be some job loss for certain things, but those jobs, like the jobs that are getting replaced, they were probably going to get offloaded to another role anyhow, right? At some point. So
Yeah.
I think the technology will continue to augment, like you were saying, what we do. I do think, though, that people need to learn to also adapt. The ones who don't adapt and try to, that
Sure.
disregard AI, those are the ones that could lose a job, right? Because they're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
changing.
Well, I think of their entity their organization is probably more in peril than the individual. Because, Jared, it's amazing how many jobs aren't one way or the other, right? They're not outsourceable to a BPO, but there's too much drudgery involved. That's what I think. That's what I think is so exciting about the potential for AI, because it sort of splits that down the middle. But I completely agree with you that if an organization is either not paying attention or increasingly not paying attention to whether they are amassing proprietary data, it sort of feels like almost anything's easily replaceable unless you have a unique data set. And maybe I just fast forwarded 5 years in my head, but you could imagine a world where that's the real differentiator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly interesting. I think when you look at it, I agree with what you said earlier. I don't think there's going to be as much job loss as what some people predict. Augmenting these roles is going to be necessary, but we need to go through that process whether AI was here or not,
Yeah.
right? We need to augment certain roles anyhow. Let's talk a little bit. Let's shift focus a little bit to obviously the conference that we're all excited about, HumanX.
Right.
What excites you about this event coming up in March?
Um, I- you know, so partially because of when we were founded, 2018, and then 2021 is when we expanded into the US. Partially because of when we were founded. We are a completely remote company. So I have this unique vantage point to tell you what's most exciting about events like the upcoming one is this magic that happens that seems to be not duplicatable. I think I made up a word there, but you just can't duplicate it over whatever the technology is. When you have enough people in the same place at the same time thinking broadly about similar things, it's kind of magic. And it's magic at a 10-person scale inside your organization. So you tell me, how many people are expected to be there? I mean, it's a pile.
Oh, it's there should be a few thousand.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be a lot, and I mean, this is year one, right? It'll just continue to grow from there.
But that's the magic, and the best conferences or conventions or whatever that I've ever been involved in all follow that same line, which is serious people thinking about similar things seriously and taking advantage of all being in the same physical space to brainstorm.
Yeah, I mean, what excites me about this event is there's just every day if you were to track the mentions of AI, right? It's crazy. It's everyone's throwing it in whatever they're talking about as often as they can.
Yeah, it's
Um,
the Moore's law. It's the Moore's law of public
yeah,
public utterance, right?
but with an event like this, you start to cut through some of that noise, hear from the experts, and I really like that. We'll be hearing a lot about how like real use cases, results of people using it, and I'm really excited. I was talking about with someone earlier today, just about like also digging into the other side of things, like how does this affect pricing models, where we went from subscription to now more usage based type models for certain things, right? And then how does this affect to what you said earlier when we think about like augmenting workforce, how does that impact that long term? And then kind of the third bucket I'm really interested in is, what do we think applications are going to look like even into the future, because the best applications are still not even here yet, right? And what we can
Yeah.
actually leverage the technology for. So it should be a great event, great speakers. I'm excited, and it's going to be here before we know it.
Right, right. Well, this time of year, time compresses. I think I've always felt the thing. If you if you chart a likely outcome to products to applications, what you see is hyper specialization, and that comes with lots of great things for the person that things are being specialized for, the person or organization. But I think there are some less some unintended or less desirable consequences. A lot of, and again, I look at this from the vantage point of insurance. The premise of insurance is a little bit that on average, you can't tell the good ones from the bad ones. So, Jared, you and I would put our characteristics into like Progressive's computer, and with a lot of AI, what they would do is they would come out with some score. Let's call it the propensity to claim. But by and large, we're each being put into buckets, and they might be getting more and more specialized buckets, but we're still in a bucket. But what happens if you take it to the nth degree and it's just a Jared bucket, and you just pay what your risk generates? All of a sudden, it becomes much less useful as a financing tool for society, right? And now you could make the argument, hey, it's good to internalize externalities if you were an economist, and I suppose it is, unless it's you, right? Think about health insurance, right? How great would it be if everyone knew that I was much less healthy than you in 5 years hence? I think it would be bad, right? Generally speaking. So the hyper specialization has consequences that aren't all, isn't it awesome that exactly what I want is on my screen when I turn on the computer in the morning, right? There's a side to guard against as well.
Absolutely. What's as we wrap up here, we've kind of talked a little bit about what you're excited about. What, like, as kind of a stopping point, what's kind of something that you're fearful of with the technology as well, as we wrap up here? What's something we need to be careful of?
Well, it would be that what I just described. As we become more and more hyper specialized, we become a universe of one, and all of a sudden the law of large numbers falls apart. And what I mean by that is, in essence, society subsidizes the people that need it most all the time, and society's really bad at subsidizing people on purpose. It's okay if it happens by accident, but when people know that they're subsidizing other people, it's sort of the paradox of the village commons in a funny way, right? Geez, two economic references in one discussion. Sorry, I don't know where that came from, but
That was good.
I guess that would be my biggest concern, Jared, because it's so clearly where we're pointed towards. It's not an unintended consequence. It's what we're driving as hard as we can towards.
I love it. Jeff, super pumped that we were able to chat here today. I
Yeah,
look forward to
I
future
agree.
conversations, and we'll see you at HumanX.
I look forward to it. See you there. Take care.